But in our first hour, what about classical demand side? What is it, actually, about classical demand side economics that libertarians and conservatives don't understand? You have supply and demand economies. Go back to Adam Smith. Go back to the Epic of Gilgamesh 7,000 years ago, to the Roman Empire, to the Greeks, to Aristotle talked about this. David Ricardo in 1817, 1776, Adam Smith. Supply is defined by worker productivity, which, by the way, in the United States has steadily increased for 200 years without interruption other than World War II. Supply is defined by worker productivity. Demand is produced by worker wages, which from 1780 until 1980 steadily increased at the exact same rate as supply. Now, because workers pay about 100% of their wages, that money in their pocket is what generates demand. And since 1980, productivity has continued to increase, but wages have begun to deteriorate. As demand provided by workers' wages began to collapse, Americans filled that gap between supply and demand with credit cards and loans against their houses. But now the limit of that has been reached, and demand has collapsed down to wage levels. Libertarians and conservatives want to keep these wages low while corporations benefit from increased productivity so they can pay their CEOs handsomely. Why? Let's ask Libertarian former vice presidential candidate and frontrunner for the 2012 presidential candidate from that party, Wayne Root. His website, Root, R-O-O-T, 4-America.com. Wayne, you heard my setup. What is it that I'm missing here?
Hey, Tom, how are you? It's good to be with you again.
Thank you. It's great to have you with us, Wayne.
I think you have me a little bit wrong. I'm for free markets. I don't think anyone should hold a gun to an employee's head or an employer's head. It's whatever the wages will pay. It's really as simple as that. Whatever the market will bear, whatever the wages will pay.
So you're in favor of our lives being run by large transnational corporations rather than we the people through our government having a say in how those transnational corporations do business?
Well, listen, I'm an entrepreneur. You can't accuse me of being pro-big business. I can't stand big business. I own little, small businesses. I own companies that at one point had a high of 100 employees, and now I've just got 3 or 4 employees, and I'm actually making more money than I've ever made.
Well, you're describing, Wayne, you're describing my life, and I don't get it. Why then you would be in favor of diminishing the power of the only thing, literally the only thing that has the ability to translate your will and mine to encourage small businesses and stop the predatory behaviors of the AIGs of the world and the Citicorps of the world and the Dow Chemicals and Monsantos of the world and the Shell oil companies of the world, to stop that monopolistic predatory behavior that destroys the Walmarts of the world, that destroys small business, and that one thing is government.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is I go by facts and statistics that
you go by
show
Fox?
me the truth. And the fact is, let me get this out,
facts.
Tom. The fact is that in the states that are the most unionized in the United States, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Michigan, California, they have 1/3 the job growth than the states that are the least unionized.
That's because they were unionized back in the 40s and 50s when we had an industrialized economy. When the last 2 years of the Carter administration, throughout the Reagan administration, and certainly in particular throughout the Clinton administration, when we had a series of Democratic and Republican presidents sell the American worker down the tubes by turning over to transnational corporations, as apparently you would like to do, the power to decide the American economy and taking it away from government. Bill Clinton famously said, the era of big government is over. We're going to let the transnational corporations run the program. Of course, when the transnational corporations take over, they say, why are we paying somebody in Detroit $20 an hour when we can pay somebody in Mexico $5 an hour or somebody in China $2 an hour?
Hey, Tom, did it ever occur to you that the reason so many jobs, including good union jobs, are shipped overseas is that we have the second highest corporate tax rates in the industrialized world? If you want to bring jobs back, lower taxes on American business, and you will see millions of jobs come back. There's no reason to put a job in China or in India or in Singapore or wherever you want to put it, Malaysia, if you could pay low taxes here. As a matter of fact, I would support either some sort of a flat tax or some sort of a national sales tax, eliminating the IRS and eliminating income tax, and in return, businesses would pay no taxes, and you would see millions of jobs come back to the United States of America.
Wayne, I'm assuming that you actually are being a little disingenuous here. You realize the corporate tax rate in the United States is 35%, which is one of the highest in the world. Typically in Europe, it's around 25%.
Correct.
But for most European countries, corporate tax collections represent typically between 20 and 24% of total federal revenue. In the United States, corporate tax collections represent 7% of total corporate revenue. The vast majority of American corporations pay nothing in taxes. There is almost not a single corporation in America that's paying that 35% rate. It's a total straw man. You know that, don't you?
Well, I know that small business like me is the one that winds up paying most of it. So I'm not
No,
defending
come on.
big
You and I
business.
run small businesses, and we have the opportunity at the end of the year to zero out our company by buying the things that we need to buy, and unless
good,
you're
isn't
a
it?
really incompetent
And that's
businessman.
good, isn't it?
Pardon?
And that's good, isn't it?
It's entirely good, and you and I both do it, and that's how small businesses should do it. But the large businesses that are using our commons, the large corporations that have massive chunks of land, that are heavy users of our fire departments, that are heavy users of our educated workforce, the large corporations that use our police departments, the large corporations that use more than 70% of our total court system, I think they should be paying that cost to the commons. I don't understand why you want you and me as individuals through our personal income tax to pay for the part of the commons that Dow Chemical is using.
I simply don't want government to force anything down anyone's throat. Government has no right to tell a corporation.
Wayne,
how
you
they
just
should spend
responded
their
to a
money.
very specific question with a cliche. Can you respond to what I just said?
Yeah, I don't want government involved with business. I don't want government involved with you or me, small business.
Okay,
large
so
business, as
if
little
government
as
is not
possible.
involved in business, that's like saying we don't want the NBA or the NFL involved with football. We don't want there to be referees. We don't want there to be rules. We don't care where the goalposts are. The teams get to decide the rules. It sounds to me, Wayne, like that's called anarchy.
Well, listen, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, as I said, Michigan, not only a third lower job growth, but more importantly, those are union states. They lead the nation.
Those
in
are the
moving
manufacturing
vans.
states.
They lead the nation in moving vans moving out of their states. Why do you think that is, Tom?
It is because of our trade policies, Wayne, and you know it.
Our trade policies are the reason moving vans are leaving those states.
That's exactly right.
It is because
And this, Wayne, I suspect you may agree with me. Ross Perot, the strange little guy with the big ears, he was right. He said if you pass NAFTA and CAFTA and you turn governance, corporate governance, the rules of the road, the rules of business over to transnational corporations instead of the people of the United States, and you let NAFTA and the World Trade Organization make the rules for business in the United States rather than the U.S. Congress, you're going to lose jobs.
We've lost jobs, but I think it's unions that are the reason we've been losing the jobs. Look at government union jobs, Tom. They're bankrupting the federal government, the state government, local governments all over the country. You can't afford to pay the average government employee $90,000 a year in a pension.
Let's just pay everybody $6,000 a year, right, Wayne?
Can't give everyone $90,000. Not everybody earns it, Tom.
Okay, Leo Gerard is next. Is he proposing the end of predatory capitalism?